Alright. Well, I would first and foremost like to thank you guys for coming out here today. This is, this is not during class, so I do appreciate you guys coming to make this lecture. And this is kind of the lecture that I feel I should have given the first time had I had a little bit more time to prepare. So like I mentioned last time, my name is, hey, I need to hit F5, don't I? Aha, there we go. Like I mentioned last time, my name is Joe Ballinger, and I do not believe in God. I am a secular rationalist, atheist, weak atheist, strong atheist, like I mentioned last time. But in more recent times, atheists have really gotten a lot more attention, mostly because we feel more free to talk about why we're not religious. There are reasons why we're doing that. First and foremost, I don't know if you guys remember, but probably during the spring sometime, there were free thought groups who were buying ads on bus spaces, and the free thought groups ran some really simple positive messages like you're not alone if you don't believe in God, or you can be good without God. And some people thought that just these sentiments alone were personally offensive for them. For what reasons, I don't know. We're also kind of vilified. Christmas time's coming up. We hear all this stuff about the war on Christmas. I celebrate Christmas. I actually played Santa Claus at my other job. So, it has a different meaning for me than it does to you, but, it's one of those things that to me has never really made sense. We are pretty much all around you. There are a lot of people who aren't really religious, they just feel really uncomfortable talking about this sort of thing. Just to recap my personal history, I know I kind of did this last week, but it didn't get on tape. But in 5th grade, I learned that ethics were actually kind of a complex thing that conflicted with the black and white culture that I was raised in, which was, usually backed up with religion. I was also introduced to a relatively convincing, I thought at the time, concept of God, which differed from what I was raised. Middle school, I was exposed to different ideas about how people should treat each other based on, a lot of which were based on religion. Those pretty much all contradicted one another, and I began to figure, if there is a being which hands us down with divine authority, then it should, be cohesive. In high school, I rejected the afterlife for reasons that is probably going to take me too long to get into. Just basically, I felt that it kind of conflicted with what I believed the point of life was. After high school, these are the things I didn't get to, and I'm also not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I entered into an abusive relationship, and this was somebody I had complete faith in, and because of that, I overlooked a lot of evil in this person. Like I said, I don't want to get too far into that. And also, there was, you guys know the soapbox thing on the Campanile, right? Where people go in and say whatever they want to. Well, at DMAC, we also had something similar, only people were going up and talking about how evil atheists were for that day, for whatever reason. So I kind of got up there, started speaking, and entered into conversations with people about religion, and this kind of set off my interest in religion. And those attempts to convert largely influence what I think about religion and will be the basis for this presentation. I'm going to talk about science in this lecture, and I believe that it would be very irresponsible of me as a biology student to say that, or to leave you with the impression that all scientists don't believe in God, because that's simply not true. I have compiled a list of people who I find respectable, whose assertions I disagree with. Theodosius Stavansky, one of my favorites, he was actually a really iconoclastic character. if you have time, do a search for Nothing in Biology Makes Sense Except in the Light of Evolution. It is really, really good paper. I'll be referring to it in this presentation. Ken Miller, I've always found him respectable. Francis Collins, not so much. I read Language of God when it first came out, and it was a bit too preachy for me. And Francisco Ayala is somebody who I've overlooked till recently. He is a Dominican priest turned evolutionary biologist, still a very devout man, and has a book called Darwin's Gift to Science and Religion that I really need to read for reasons I will explain later in this lecture. Four most common arguments I encountered for the existence of God. This is in no particular order whatsoever. The argument from design, the assertion that life was far too complex to have ever evolved, the anthropic principle, the assertion that the universe is fine-tuned for life, and we are the center of the universe. The first cause argument, which states that everything needs a beginning, and therefore the beginning must be God. And the argument for morality, either you can't be good without God, or morality couldn't have come from natural processes. It's the latter that I'll be dealing with today, because I dealt with the former in the questions. First, argument for morality. I believe that some ideas are simply good ideas. If you've seen the movie Boondock Saints, principles which every man of every faith can embrace: don't kill, don't rape, don't steal. Societies that allow widespread killing and theft from amongst their members don't really last too long. So there are people would band together to stop this because it's harmful to them. There's also something called kin selection, which in insects, if you're familiar with honeybees, basically it's how fitness can be transferred through the progeny. If you give yourself up for your family or the community in which your family lives in, your genes actually have a better chance of being spread throughout the animal kingdom. In insects, there are many examples of semi-social insects, like for example aphids have these specialized soldier nymphs which will fight off predators and parasitoid wasps, presumably at a huge risk to themselves. And if you've ever been stung by a honeybee, any honeybee that stings you has to die because she essentially leaves her reproductive organs in you, and sometimes you even get a nice little intestinal leech, which she is basically just eviscerates her. There's also examples of alarm calls in animals where if there is a danger to the community, an animal will call out and essentially highlight itself. So that's a form of altruism. Back when I was taking an ethics class, I actually did a paper on ethics in animals, and there was an author who I cited quite frequently by the name of Franz de Waal, who studies sociology in primates. And what he has discovered is that if you have a bunch of monkeys complete the same task and reward all of them with a cucumber except one who you give a grape, the rest of the monkeys will actually refuse to complete the task until they are given the same reward. Now, I'm going to send this PowerPoint to